New Hyte
Y70.
email address house.
That was quick.
Oh wow. Y70 LCD, black and red, baby. 4K IPS. Wow. It is this touch bit that I'm insanely excited about. Oh wow. The red is real pretty. Alright, good people, this is one of the coolest case stock elements I have ever seen. Perhaps a touch inappropriate with all the labels. But once the peel is done, this is when the fun begins. So this is basically a 14-inch display that you can use alongside your monitor. As you can see, it is very vertical, but it works. The question you're all probably thinking is, yes, you can game on this thing as long as you can switch the monitor output in the game settings. And I mean, the extreme vertical resolution is not exactly ideal, but it is totally doable. I had some fun in Battlefield and Cyberpunk and was surprised it fit all the external UI elements properly, although they're extremely hard to see, of course. Strategy games like Dune played no problem, like you can actually play it because the vertical real estate is beneficial for map knowledge, but the UI elements, again, are really small. And you could potentially use this for additional showcase opportunities, whatever that means to you. And I guess you can also use it for like troubleshooting maybe if you don't want to connect your main display, because without it, it's a display within a case that works. Wallpaper engine works, and it absolutely elevates the whole case package. And I mean, like, you know, color matching your hardware lighting to the wallpaper or creating cool contrasting tones. Plus, I haven't had any bugs of wallpaper spilling over to the other screen. It recognizes display and its resolution perfectly. And as much as it is a hardware product, it is also a software product too, because using the Nexus driver software, it really encourages interaction with the whole touch experience, but more on that later. Now, the colors are awesome. It is an IPS display, so viewing angles are excellent as long as there's something there. The refresh rate is 60 Hz, which feels nice and smooth. But the thing that surprised me the most is that it is powered with a SATA cable, so via your power supply, and the USB 2 plug into the motherboard for driver support. Hyte includes this short DP cable to pass from the back into your GPU, and this whole thing feels really fleshed out compared to the Y60 with the DIY screen kit. You don't need a 3D printer, everything is already assembled, pre-routed and ready to go. Behind the display, it's very low profile, nothing sticking out, so there's going to be no interference with your own components and hardware on inside. And speaking of interference, let's hear a message from today's video sponsor.
Looking for something different from your CPU cooler? Meet Deepcool's new AK Digital series that add a retro-style digital display showing CPU usage and temperature in a straightforward but completely unique and tasteful way. With these, you get one of the most unique air cooling experiences around. The new Deepcool AK400, AK500, and AK620 digital coolers. Performance and innovation combined into awesome looking coolers for every situation. Find them at the links below.
Welcome back. So this case has a lot of cool factors. Probably my favorite power button ever, soft with a nice click at the end. So satisfying. Also, Hyte does consistency very well in their design language. So for example, all the angular bits on the interior floor that match the lines of the riser card housing, which is the PCIe Gen 4 by the way. The exterior panels have 90-degree lines, but with flaring on the interior for that modern aesthetic. The ventilation on the PCI covers follow the same angle despite the half height being horizontal and full height PCI slots being vertical. Both the top and the bottom fan brackets match the flaring of the frame as well, including that bottom dust filter, the same with the side fan bracket and even the rear exhaust grille. We have only a few hints of branding that is tasteful and interesting, especially on the storage brackets that are hidden behind the motherboard anyway. I do love the red exterior color too. You have to be a bit more mindful on the hardware you populate inside so things match a little bit more, but I also wish that the red was matte because the glossy looks cool, but the matte is kind of in right now, you know? You can really tell Hyte tries to harmonize the whole experience, but there are a few things to consider with the Y70 Touch. For example, it has to be in your proximity for you to actually interact with the touchscreen. It is strange, but I kind of like being physically close to the Y70 Touch. There's this pleasant appreciation of your components inside, but also the case as well. But the thing is, there's coil whine. I guess that's normal when you're sitting that close, but also fan noise. So you have to go around and make sure the case is very quiet. And I guess coil whine, just luck of the draw. And the case, by the way, is 10 liters larger than the Y60 to accommodate more cooling options on the side and the bottom. It's wider, so larger graphics cards and CPU heatsinks are supported, but really the main highlight is this touchscreen. So installation takes less than a minute and I had no issues aside from not clicking enter when it asked me to detect which screen I want to use as a touch display. And once we're in, there are a few basics to cover. So on the main home screen, we can swipe down to reveal a few things. First of all, we have brightness adjustment of the display, microphone volume, which is awesome, and we also have main volume. Long pressing that gives us a mixer for individual app volume, which is really cool. And if you have more sources connected for audio output, here you can change them alongside this different input. And the bottom here we have individual toggle for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay mode, and Ethernet. You cannot, unfortunately, long press to, let's say, open the Wi-Fi network, etc. This is just toggles, and we can go back with swipe up. On this main home screen, we can swipe to the right to reveal the basic dashboard information, but you notice the wallpaper behind this dashboard does not actually match the dashboard that I've created personally here. So if you want the stock, this is how it looks. So here I have a few things: the clock, dual widgets for Sofia and Toronto, and we have our performance section. So long pressing that reveals the full array of the performance information in terms of like the CPU load, temperature, voltage, and some other GPU information. Unfortunately, right now you cannot customize the size of the font. So for example, 23% and load, the load text is way too little. And in the main section, everything is okay, but again, no size text adjustment. But I do appreciate the flexibility of the actual widget, let's say being able to change the device, so not just CPU and the GPU, but also the animation style. And this is important so that you can differentiate visually what you're looking at. So for example, right now, I know the bar is my CPU, and the circle is the GPU without needing to rely on these little icons. I also appreciate the smoothness of the animation display and also the wallpaper behind it. Now from the main homepage, you can swipe to go between different pages. It's very intuitive, but there is no indicator on the widget if it can be fully extended to full screen or not. For example, with the performance you can, but for the weather, for some reason you can't. The same thing with the time. Actually, the time you can, but there's no additional useful information displayed here. It just goes full screen. The media widget, for example, can be expanded into full screen, but no additional functionality is added there. We have a block game, what they call, so basically just Tetris, so you can have a little good time. Also, you do not know which piece is coming next. Hyte, please fix. We have a Twitch chat widget that can be expanded into full screen, but two things: you cannot scroll. So once this hole fills up, it just keep piling on the new messages at the bottom, but you cannot scroll there, and you can also not extend the size of the text. So if this is too little for you, I mean, tough luck, my friend. And also, if you exit it from here and move to a different page, when you go back, this whole thing refreshes. In the themes tab, we do have a few included animation backgrounds, all of which have nice resolution, really good frame rate too, although this one hiccups sometimes. This one is absolutely trippy, especially when you're going to a separate page. The whole thing looks really interesting. I love the white ones. There is no hint of yellow. It's like proper white, which is awesome. This one, the nature one, is probably the least high resolution. You can see the pixelation of the trees. We do have a few gradients to choose from as well. Unfortunately, they're not animated, but notice when I select the gradient, NEXUS auto-detects the color scheme for the rest of the UI. So your font, the boxes, and the primary colors. You can add your own backgrounds, animated or not. And here, for example, we have an MP4 file with some cars and nature. And here I can select different colors for my text so things are visible. But unfortunately, you can see neither in the software UI nor on the screen, you can change the position of that photo, which is unfortunate. And for example, if you choose a landscape photo, unless whatever you're trying to display is dead center, it's going to be useless because you cannot adjust the location. And I really want NEXUS to incorporate the same idea like Wallpaper engine with the sliders, being able to, let's say, zoom in, change the hue, reposition your photo, etc. But for right now, you can't. You can see this is still very much an early beta, so a few functionality options are still grayed out. Notes would be awesome, so you can kind of know what's happening for later. Google Calendar for your upcoming events, etc. And RSS feed too. I would love to see how that looks in this vertical aspect ratio. And for example, you cannot even adjust the position of these widgets. So if I want performance at the top, I have to remove everything and put the performance widget at the top and kind of build from there. You go one by one. We have an emoji library, which is pretty interesting. So you click it, it copies it, and you can paste it. There is a calculator app, which is kind of random, but it works. We have a gallery widget, so you can display photos and videos, but you cannot expand it and you cannot interact with it in any way. So is kind of pointless. And we also have this dock. So you can edit it, you can add your shortcuts to your most used applications. For example, you can also add a gallery, which I find to be strange to be part of the dock. So I don't know why that's there. And as you can see, Hyte does not include any sort of templates for you to play around with in terms of widgets. So if you want to go for something anime themed or inputting your own characters in there, you have to do all that manually. Now, what happens if you want to run Wallpaper engine and also Nexus running in the background? There is no hybrid. You cannot combine them. So if you have Nexus running, it's going to take priority. But if I shut down Nexus, then Wallpaper engine will override it. And my goodness, that looks sick. Now, because this is a touchscreen and is treated like a secondary display, if you have any app that is open in full screen, as soon as you touch this, we exit back to your desktop. So that's something that's going to be not really pleasant while you're gaming, right? So like you cannot actually interact with the screen while you're in a full screen game. Honestly, I'm excited for the Nexus software to evolve because up to this point, it has been pretty powerful and seamless. Like aside from a few bugs here and there, it is very well fleshed out. The width of the screen realistically is restricting, like you cannot game on it, but that's not really the main use case anyway. But the thing is, the bezels on the screen do not match the adjacent glass bezels, but it's still really fun. My preferred way of using this extra vertical real estate is with Wallpaper engine for a really dynamic sort of PC showcase experience on your desk. But if you had an extra screen on your PC case, what would you showcase? Let me know in the comments, and huge thanks to Hyte for making this possible. I'm Dmitry. I'll talk to you in the next video.